And at guard from Iowa, wearing number 22, Caitlin Clark.
After 222 days, Caitlin Clark is back, and it looked like she never left.
For Brazil, here's Clark. Wow! You bet! From beyond the logo! And a little point afterwards!
Her longest three yet in her preseason debut of year 2. Absolutely insane. Even with a minor left thigh injury, there was no way Caitlin Clark was missing a sold-out crowd in her old Iowa nest. And with the Fever's new signings on board, you could feel it. This game against Brazil was going to be something special. And from the jump, it took just 30 seconds. First possession, first shot, like she never left.
Salino can't finish. Here comes Clark in transition. Clark, pull up three. You bet!
And it didn't take long for her partner in threes, Kelsey Mitchell, to follow suit.
Mitchell, why not?
It was clear her teammates didn't slack in the offseason, and CC rewarded that effort.
Eyes up, finding Boston on a dime. Able to finish on the follow.
However, it wasn't all sunshine. There was a little rust, both from Caitlin and her teammates.
Turn. Nice pocket pass. Boston could...
Maybe it was the injury, or the 222 days away, but Caitlin clearly needed a moment to find her rhythm.
Season. Clark. Off on that one.
Thankfully, the Fever's ball movement was sharp, and the new signing stepped up right on cue.
Dumps it to Boston. Bonner will fire away and knock it down.
That's an area we saw throughout the course of last season.
After a quick muscle activation on the sideline, Caitlin checked back in and surprised everyone by shining where you'd least expect it.
Next, the option of having Clark on the floor with Sydney Colson so she can play a little bit more off the ball. As you see a great block from Clark there.
Yeah, she wants to try and give Clark.
And on offense, she effortlessly found the open player, reading the floor like she never missed a beat.
Clark bodying inside, wraps a pass. Good movement here. Cunningham connects, plus the foul.
The Fever's game plan for the season is clear. Elite ball movement, and with Caitlin leading the charge.
We will all stand on our heads. I don't know exactly what that means, but I do know they were excited about her still being there.
And that didn't take all too long.
Clark hit her first attempt for three, as 3 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 9 points for Kelsey Mitchell. Clark, what up?
She ended the first with a 3 and came right back to start the second with another one.
Opening quarter. Kelsey Mitchell with 9 points. Clark, a bomb. It is good!
3 threes already, and her vision was just as sharp, even when her teammates couldn't always finish the plays.
What a pass. Timpson.
Caitlin was threading passes like a vet.
Clark in a crowd comes down with it. An Olay pass. Timpson gets down.
And the Fever's ball movement was on another level. Crisp, unselfish, and relentless. Everyone was getting involved.
A Turner over to Hull. She got it. Another 3 for Indiana, their 9th of the half.
You've seen Indiana go with a variety of small...
But Caitlin didn't just rely on the ball movement.
...thing they have on the floor.
Clark drives, stops, and lays. 11 points for Caitlin Clark in this first half.
The crowd was loving every second, and the Brazil squad seemed to fan out, but Caitlin wasn't handing out any mercy.
Here today, the number of already.
They're 11 of 15 as Howard, 3 is off for Queiroz. Here comes Clark, down the floor, touchdown, Clark to Bonner.
Caitlin came to put on a show, and as the Fever's lead grew, it became clear Brazil didn't stand a chance.
Here's Clark. Clark on the drive, gets to the cup. 13 for Caitlin Clark in this first half.
With a 46-point lead heading into halftime, the game was no longer competitive, but that didn't stop CC from putting her full game on display.
Here's Clark. Off the turnover, Clark dishes, Boston floats it in.
But it was still a process for her teammates, getting used to those lightning-quick dimes coming their way.
Back from Mitchell, Clark, extra feed, Boston leaves it short.
So every now and then, Caitlin took matters into her own hands.
Catch, attack, floater is good. Here's Clark. Oh, what a look. Mitchell the extra feed, and Boston is fouled.
But her best moment of the game was still on the way. In the meantime, the dimes kept coming in.
And here comes Clark. Clark backdoor, nice find, and the layup is good. Strong finish from Egypt on the dime from Clark.
Not only a great baseline.
With just seconds left in the third, Caitlin decided to do something she has never done before.
Clark, wow! You bet! From beyond the logo! And a little point afterwards. She knows how to spark the crowd.
A 36-foot bomb, her longest three ever in her very first game back. You can't make this up. Pure Caitlin Clark magic. That would be her final appearance of the night, ending it on the perfect high note. 16 points, 4 threes, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds. Year 2 just kicked off, and the WNBA wasted no time giving us a treat. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, a matchup that always draws a crowd, and this one didn't disappoint.
A three. And look out, Caitlin Clark pushes Angel Reese, and Angel Reese gets right up into Caitlin Clark.
A triple-double, broken records, and a skill gap that's starting to look more like a canyon. Caitlin Clark didn't just show up, she made a statement.
Here's Clark firing and hitting. 20 points.
And from the jump, Caitlin wasn't backing down. She welcomed the contact and got the whistle.
Here's Clark working through some contact. Clark diving in, gets the whistle.
And after calmly knocking down the free throws, it was Angel Reese on the other end, getting to work.
Play with so much pace. It's where Caitlin Clark excelled a season ago.
Angel Reese dives in and finishes through the contact.
But her trash-talking heroics? Yeah, those were quickly shut down.
Wants more of that from her, catching around that 15-foot area.
Clark connects! The first logo bomb of the season from Caitlin Clark.
Then Angel launches a three, but it's off. Caitlin answers with one of her own, and it's just short. Reese responds attacking the rim next, but gets stuffed.
Base barges in and gets denied by Boston.
Then Caitlin pushes the break, but her layup rolls off. So it's time to adjust, and Caitlin does so by sending some dimes.
Game's conditioning.
Maybe the broadcasters as well. Here's Howard, gets the whistle off a pretty dime from Clark.
But it was starting to become clear. Her Fever teammates weren't fully ready for those lasers yet.
Battling on the offensive glass, but Howard comes away with it. Here is Clark. Clark feeding Boston, who can't finish. Lexi Hull comes in, grabs the rebound. She said, well, I know you guys love it. Oh, what a pass from Clark. But
luckily, her defense was enough to shut down Reese's drives. But to create real separation, her teammates needed to start finishing the plays she was setting up. And luckily for her, Lexi Hull got that message.
To Hull, here's Clark in transition. Clark, oh, what a look. And Hull lays it in.
But with Reese starting to knock down threes,
Reese will fire the three and hit from downtown. Angel.
Caitlin knew she had to take it up another notch, and that's exactly what she did.
Hitting Boston. Boston fakes and lays it in. There's that two-player chemistry.
But Reese wasn't having it. She blatantly shoved Boston in the face, trying to break up the chemistry. Still, that didn't stop Caitlin from keeping the offense flowing.
Her passing and the way that makes her a threat from so many different places on the floor. Clark, little mid-range is good. Boston gives it back. Clark to Boston. Her jumper is good.
The chemistry between Caitlin and Boston was unmatched. It even felt like it gave Caitlin some wings.
Reese.
Reese is a very good passer.
Clark.
Some of those shots were a bit much this early on, and on the fast break, she was asking a little too much from her vets.
The fling ahead, Howard.
Still, it didn't take long before she gave the crowd exactly what they came to see.
Here's Clark, 4 seconds left. Clark fires. You bet! Clark drills the three to end the second.
The Fever entered the second half with a 13-point lead and plenty left in the tank, and they didn't waste any time putting it to use.
Fifth. Here's Clark spinning, bouncing, what a find, and Howard lays it in on a delectable dime from Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin was really putting her full playmaking arsenal on display.
Nurse short on a three, Clark her sixth rebound. Here's Clark in transition, nice find.
Another missed layup, but luckily, Aaliyah Boston was locked in.
When especially adjusted to a new team, here's Boston. Fakes the jumper, rumbles inside, and drops it in.
While Angel was still battling to get the ball in the hoop,
Really well against the bigger Cardoso.
Reese spinning, couldn't pop it in, the O board, no. Another chance stripped away by Clark.
Caitlin was in full control, taking charge and stretching the lead.
Solid first game.
Clark looking to shake Vandersloot, step back is good. Caitlin Clark.
It had been a fierce but fairly composed game until the third quarter. The Sky bricked a three, and Reese shoved Howard in the back, going for the rebound, but no whistle. So Caitlin tried to stop the break with a take foul, but Reese took that personal.
Caitlin Clark pushes Angel Reese, and Angel Reese gets right up into Caitlin Clark. Afterwards has something to say as Clark walks away.
After a review, the refs determined that Caitlin shoved Angel after the foul, resulting in a controversial flagrant. After the game, both players brushed it off, calling it just a common foul. But let's be real, that pot had been simmering for a while. But that little exchange clearly lit a fire. CC came out of the gate swinging.
From Hull, Clark couldn't handle it. 6 to shoot. Here's Boston, will fire a three, and hit. Clark gives it up, gets it back. Clark looking to take Williams, finds Boston inside for two. Here is Clark pushing pace, racing up the floor. What a dime as Mitchell couldn't finish the lay.
She was up to 14, 7, and 7, and you could already feel it. Something special was brewing.
Just trying to impact winning the right way. I think over the last couple of years and having some experience losing made me want to win more, so just trying to impact winning.
And with her teammates running the floor in transition, it all started to come easier.
Closes in on a triple-double, 2 assists, 1 rebound away. Clark leading Mitchell for the lay, and the building is up for grabs. Clark gets it back from Boston. Now bounces to her. Boston drops it in.
That was her 10th assist, putting her just 1 rebound away from a triple-double in her Year 2 opener. A truly historic moment in the making. But before sealing the triple-double, she had more to show, from way beyond the arc.
Here's Clark firing and hitting. 20 points for Caitlin Clark.
And her vet, Dawana Bonner, had history to make of her own, breaking a scoring record and becoming 3rd on the WNBA's all-time scoring list.
She has tied Tina Thompson for 3rd on the all-time scoring list. And Dawana Bonner sits alone in 3rd place on the all-time WNBA scoring list.
And when Caitlin grabbed that final rebound, she sealed it.
Down. There it is! A triple-double for Caitlin Clark. The 3rd of her career, and she starts 2025 with a triple-double.
And just one look at the final score, this tells you everything. The Sky didn't stand a chance. The Fever are looking like a powerhouse this season, and if this is how they're starting, the rest of the WNBA better be ready. Just a few games into the season, and Caitlin Clark is already the league's #1 target. Every team wants to stop her, no matter how. But even with the refs against her, Caitlin still finds a way to make it happen.
Clark gets it. She's got time. Cloud defending. Clark trying to create some airspace. Long three at the horn. Oh! Caitlin Clark rising from the ashes here in the 3rd quarter. And Indiana with an 8-point lead.
But from the jump, it wasn't about her. Caitlin came out ready to facilitate and get her team going.
Thievish starting off on Caitlin Clark. New York was pretty coy about how they would defend her. Boston, the roll, the catch, and puts it in.
And it wouldn't be long before she fired off another one of those full-court bullets.
Sabrina, short on the jumper.
Well, you want to make Sabrina dribble into her shots if possible.
Mitchell gets behind the secondary and puts it in.
And Jordan, that's why it's so important for Caitlin Clark.
But the moment she tried to attack the basket, you could feel it. The physicality ramped up instantly.
Into the vision of Caitlin Clark early.
Clark steps on the gas, goes right by Stewart, and picks up the foul.
Early on, the refs were with her and sent her to the line, but it wasn't consistent. So Caitlin adjusted, played it smart, and leaned into her dimes instead.
Players like UNESCO and Caitlin Clark, the way that you defended your team slants, Boston galloping to the cup. The connection works again.
There's not a lot of space there.
She didn't get every call, but when she attacked the basket and the contact was too obvious to ignore.
They went through a really detailed defensive scout yesterday.
The whistle finally came.
Another and one opportunity as she goes window shopping.
She went 2 for 2 at the line, but it was clear every layup came with a price. So she switched it up again.
With those right-handed layups.
I mean, they have 9 baskets, and I have one officially with 7 right-handed layups.
Clark found a hole in the defense.
And with the D pressing high, Caitlin matched that energy, finding Aaliyah Boston.
Talked about doing a lot of cardio, wanted to be bulletproof, and so far, Aaliyah Boston's been bulletproof.
But even when she tried to avoid the contact, the Liberty still found her.
So the Fever gained the 1-point advantage, just under 40 seconds left here in the opening quarter. And that's going to be a foul.
Crazy enough, the whistle went against Caitlin, and not even 10 seconds later, they were physically blocking her from even getting open.
Work off balls, you mentioned, fighting through some contact. That's going to be an off-ball foul, and that'll send Caitlin Clark to the free throw line.
But after that free throw, the Fever hit a tough drought. Double teams on Caitlin, wide open missed layups,
Mitchell, the baseline catch goes high.
and suddenly, they were down 14. Luckily, Caitlin could count on Aaliyah Boston to keep the game from slipping too far out of reach.
Clark over the top, Boston.
Pass is
Even when Caitlin couldn't get it to fall, Boston was right there, cleaning the
she
glass.
can score on.
Clark, no good. Boston right there to clean it up, and a timeout on the floor.
But the contact kept escalating. A 50-50 ball nearly took out Caitlin's knee in the process. It was getting rough out there.
Backside of Burke. Clark and Stewart come crashing to the floor, and that'll be New York ball after.
So Caitlin eased off and let the Boston show roll on, feeding her in the post and letting the big work.
Goes over the top, Boston, the catch fading away, goes off the glass.
Really nice job of loading to the strong side and allowing them.
With the deficit shrinking, this tactic was clearly working, so Caitlin kept feeding Boston in the second half.
Other players, and talks about the supporting cast around Caitlin Clark this year, that she doesn't have to shoulder the whole load. Boston, the floater, popcorn's in, we've got a 2-point game.
I mean, that is the best action.
You heard that right, the lead was gone, and moments later, Caitlin found Mitchell for the bucket that tied it all up.
How defenses have to stretch so far down the court. Here's Mitchell, sets her feet, Mitchell raising the 3, and we've got a tie ball game.
The Fever had momentum on their side, and Caitlin was ready to take charge by herself.
Batted alive, bodies on the floor. Clark 1-on-3, trying to split the defense, goes into traffic and reverses it off the glass. Stewart driving and
But once again, no call. So on the very next possession, Caitlin took it to another level and made sure the refs couldn't ignore her anymore.
Clark, step back 3. Oh, she hit it and draws the foul. Welcome back, Caitlin Clark.
Energizes this crowd more than a Caitlin Clark step back.
Nothing energizes me more too, but nothing frustrates me more than Brianna Stewart.
Intercept goes right by Stewart, but blocked. Big time collision, and Clark is still down on the floor.
That was her second hard hit on Caitlin this game, and it felt like Brianna was on a different mission tonight. But that didn't stop Caitlin from pulling off some magic.
Bending, Clark trying to create some airspace. Long 3 at the horn. Oh! Caitlin Clark rising from the ashes here
That's one way to end the third. Buzzer beater and an 8-point lead for the Fever, and Caitlin kept the momentum rolling into the fourth, first finding Boston once again to keep the pressure on.
Rolled Clark a little bit deeper into the paint on that.
It's Boston, the pump fake. Stewart goes crashing down, no whistle. Boston fighting for the ball.
And not long after, it was her turn to get going.
It's over dribble. Slices through the defense and a finish with the right.
But the Liberty clawed their way back into it, and the Fever tied it up again when Boston got hacked in the paint and earned a trip to the line. With 30 seconds left, the game was in the Fever's hands. Of course, they gave it to CC. She attacked the basket, drew the defense, and kicked it to Bonner.
Dumps it off. Bonner blocked at the top.
Bonner's shot was blocked, and off the inbound, Caitlin found Mitchell, but she missed too.
Puts it up. Mitchell, no good. Hits the rim. New York will have a chance. They call timeout.
With 8 seconds left, the Liberty had their shot, and Caitlin's instructions were clear. No fouls.
Box is out.
Cloud the catch, back to UNESCO. Sabrina turns the corner. Sabrina the bump and draws the foul with 2.9 remaining.
At first, it looked like a careless foul by Lexi Hull, but the replay told a different story. It was clear who initiated the contact. Still, the refs bought it, and the Liberty were gifted a trip to the line. They knocked down both free throws. And on the other end, Caitlin had just 4 seconds to change the outcome.
Screening action down low. Clark has to get open. 1 second left. Clark doesn't get the shot off. Cloud locks her up.
Would you believe it? Same kind of contact initiation, but this time, no call. The refs let it go. Game over.
He's unable to get a shot attempt up.
In a moment that mattered most, you'd expect the officiating to be equal, but tonight, the Liberty got a nudge in the back, while Caitlin caught an elbow. Not literally, but you get the picture. Caitlin Clark versus the Atlanta Dream, a battle to the very end, and let's just say she didn't come out unscathed.
And shot clock. There's a lot of bumping and chippiness at half court between Ryan Howard and Caitlin Clark. And last game, the shot clock, Maya Caldwell had to corral it back in. Another offensive foul against Brittany Griner.
Luckily, it didn't start out that way. With Ryan Howard guarding her, Caitlin made sure to set the tone early, getting the first bucket on the board.
In the paint, Atlanta coming off of back-to-back games, scoring 90-plus points, and Caitlin Clark.
But that didn't stop Howard. She came right back with a bucket of her own.
Veteran in this league, she knows how to play around the rim. Ryan Howard!
And it didn't take long for Howard to get in favor with the refs.
So she's used to it, I would say.
Even with that, she switched gears and put her team to work.
What kind of responsibility do you know that you have as you're shaping the culture that we're seeing here in today's game? I mean, honestly.
But her team wasn't on the same flow just yet.
Clark got the switch with Bree Jones on her, sends it to the corner. Sophie Cunningham comes in and out 3.
But on defense, Howard was getting a little too handsy, and it wasn't just one possession. It happened back-to-back.
Difference between the game and the shot clock. There's a lot of bumping and chippiness at half court between Ryan Howard and Caitlin Clark.
It was clear Caitlin was getting fed up, and Howard, she took the challenge head on, but so did Caitlin.
Caitlin gets it back, tries to send it over. Cunningham gets it to go!
Caitlin was locked in, ready to take control and push the Fever back into the lead.
Caitlin Clark too handsy. Without Caitlin, we know very well she likes to let it fly from the left. Pulls up, baseline, good to go.
She does like that spot, but on the other end, Howard was answering right back.
They got 4 on the shot clock. Howard pulls up, triple, good. When you get Ryan Howard mad, this is what...
It was turning into a classic star-for-star duel. First Caitlin.
Space couldn't get the bucket. Here comes Caitlin Clark. It's how Caitlin...
Then Howard.
And give you some production. Right now, Indiana has the advantage for bench points, 15-2 as Ryan Howard...
Then Caitlin again with another dime.
Game of the season was an overtime one where she dropped 36 points.
It was a fair battle, until Brittany Griner stepped in. That's when things started to get physical and dirty.
On the shot clock, Maya Caldwell had to corral it back in. Another offensive foul against Brittany Griner. That will be her 5th.
An intentional elbow the moment she saw Caitlin. Just wild, but it didn't stop Caitlin from turning up the pressure.
Clark found a lane and she'll take it.
And she was ready to take on even more. But once again, the Dream responded with physical play, trying to wear her down. At this point, it was almost comical how much they were targeting her. And yet, Caitlin still got her bucket.
On the triple. Ryan Howard, Caitlin Clark finding a way to miss. Excellent.
Unfortunately, her team wasn't on the same page, committing sloppy fouls that gave the Dream extra chances.
Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Aaliyah Boston all just frustrated in this game with their shots.
It even had some fans celebrating a little too early. But all that extra contact, Caitlin saw it as an opportunity, and she took full advantage.
Back. Fever can take the lead with a 3 or tie. And Caitlin Clark draws the foul. Gray is a little bit taken back by that shot.
She knocked down 2 of 3 at the line, but the Dream answered right back, getting a call on the other end and taking the lead again, with just 3 minutes to go.
5 from 3 in this game. And draws the foul. Caitlin Clark now with...
Luckily, it didn't take long for Kelsey Mitchell to come through in the clutch.
Lexi Hall had 5 of their own. Big stop for Atlanta here. Kelsey lines it up. Why not?
And just as quickly, Howard got handsy again. The Dream racked up 21 fouls, and everyone who guarded Caitlin was in deep foul trouble. With 40 seconds left and a 1-point lead, Caitlin made the smart play, dumping it to Boston and letting her go to work.
In this game. Stops on the dime, looking to pull up, finds Aaliyah Boston, who gets the bucket to go, still.
The Dream tried to answer quickly, but their night ended the same way it started.
Another, big foul going against Atlanta. Ryan Howard pushes off Sophie Cunningham.
Even with just 7 seconds left, the Dream were still grabbing.
Floor.
But it wasn't enough to stop the Fever. Final score, 81-76. Surprisingly, the Fever ended with 4 more fouls, despite all the contact Caitlin took. If this is the tone for the season, staying healthy won't be easy. Let's just hope she can hold up, because the league needs her. After 20 days sidelined by injury, Caitlin Clark returned and picked the perfect target, revenge against the undefeated New York Liberty. And just like that, it looked like she never left.
Clark, another long 3. She's back!
This might have been Caitlin Clark's best performance yet. NBA range 3s, broken records, and a level of brilliance the WNBA's never seen before. And the first time she brought it up the court, she wasted no time, dropping a perfect dime that set the tone for the night.
For her last 2. Nicely done to get it inside to Mitchell. Those two have such a great connection, especially when Kelsey...
The connection was instant, and that same chemistry showed up again when she found Aaliyah Boston in the post.
Great rebounding team this season.
Same in transition. Boston was already on the move. She knew exactly what was coming.
This is one thing you get with Clark is great pace and great passes. Found Boston perfectly.
A dime straight out of a quarterback's playbook that made 3 assists with 3 minutes left in the first. But Caitlin hadn't even scored yet, until she changed that in style.
Clark last played for Indiana against New York, and now she takes it in off glass and has a chance for a 3-point play.
She put a top-tier defender on skates and finished with the N1. Now that's CC magic. And well, with 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the first, that magic would do something that would change not only this game, but WNBA history.
Cunningham is down behind the play, but they've got
a deep pull-up, and it didn't stop there. It sparked something unstoppable.
2 players with incredible
The commentator was speechless after that one, back to back, and this one even deeper than the last. But wait, it didn't even stop it there.
Clark, another long 3. She's back!
3 threes in under a minute to close the quarter, and 2 of them were from over 30 feet. That's at least 6 feet beyond the NBA line. That's not just deep, That's Curry range. And just so you don't forget, she had been out for 20 days before this. No warm-up, no easing in, just straight fire. And with the Liberty daring to leave her open to start the second, it was a no-brainer. The streak wasn't done yet.
Start second in a row, and Clark stays red hot.
Even her practice shot after the foul didn't touch the rim. That's how locked in she was, sitting on 4 threes and 17 points while the rest of her team hadn't made a single field goal. Luckily, she was more than ready to carry the load.
Traffic, and then steps back with the 3 over Breanna Stewart.
This isn't a video game. Caitlin Clark just knocked down 5 straight threes in the first half, including 3 bombs in just 38 seconds. And with Lexi Hull catching fire too,
Hull left open momentarily, and she nailed it.
the Fever were suddenly chasing a new franchise record for made threes. But Liberty's number 5, Natasha Cloud, wasn't having it. She pulled out the dirty playbook to knock Caitlin out of her rhythm.
And now a whistle is...
Unfortunately, this kind of physical targeting has become a theme in the WNBA, but luckily, not even that could stop Caitlin tonight.
Sharon. Mark trying to answer, and indeed she does.
And with all that shooting, you might forget, she's an elite passer too.
Floor. Oh, behind the back action. Oh, from the corner.
But just when you thought the pass was the highlight, she outdid herself again, drilling yet another 3 to close the half.
Caitlin Clark. Feeling the 3.
This was hands down the best first half of her young WNBA career, single-handedly keeping the Fever in the game, shooting a ridiculous 66% from deep, and making sure the Liberty felt every bit of her presence. But there was one problem the Fever just couldn't shake: missing open layups.
Howard gets it to Clark, another perfect pass to Hull.
Caitlin could have had a double-double by halftime, but her teammates kept fumbling the easiest shots. Luckily, Caitlin dug into her bag and started showing out on defense too.
Taken away by Clark, that's off of Stewart, so Indiana basketball.
Luckily, halfway through the third, the engine finally started to rev for the Fever. Her teammates began finding rhythm.
For some options, Hull spots up for 3 and hits it.
First, Hull knocked down a clutch 3. Then Aaliyah Boston went to work in the paint.
Pacers until last night. This run. Oh, that's a nice little fake by Boston.
And now, with defenders worried about the pass, Caitlin Clark flipped the script, attacking the basket with purpose.
Caitlin challenged Sobley and won it.
She was in a total flow state, calm, locked in, untouchable. And even with a defender draped all over her, she rose up and drilled her 7th 3 of the night.
Clark nails it. A 17-0 run.
This is why you buy a ticket, nights like this. And if you want to see Caitlin Clark live, grab your seats with code THEWEMBYSHOW on SeatGeek for a nice little discount. Don't miss it. She was already sitting on a big 30, and there was still a quarter and a half to play. But guess who was right back on her tail?
Cloud and Clark have had some nice confrontations.
Caitlin got rewarded with a trip to the line, and Cloud, she got a seat on the bench. But even with the game settling down, Lexi Hull was out here going for the hat trick.
Kind of like a hockey line change. Off the inbounds.
Her 3rd missed layup of the night. And when I tell you how many assists Caitlin ended the night with, you'll understand just how sour this really was. Luckily, Lexi Hull redeemed herself midway through the 4th.
Clark. And then a perfect bounce pass with Hull working the baseline.
Caitlin made it look effortless, and when she started dribbling literal circles around the defense, you just knew this game was over.
Killing some more clock. And maybe the dagger. Kelsey Mitchell lighting it up here in the 4th quarter.
And Indiana.
In the final 2 minutes, the Fever held their ground and secured the W. Caitlin Clark wrapped up the night with a monster stat line: 32 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. And yeah, if just 2 more boards dropped her way and one teammate finished a wide open layup, we'd be talking about a 32-point triple-double. But maybe that much history in one night was already enough. She hit 7 threes, helped set a new franchise record, and reminded everyone exactly who she is. If you want to see her do it live, use code The Wemby Show on SeatGeek for a nice little discount. Hit that subscribe button.
Bustle it away.
I mean, is that displacement? I think it is.
Oh, and Marina Mabry's going to get ejected. If the officials saw that, Marina Mabry is going to get ejected.
If it wasn't clear yet, it is now. Caitlin Clark is being hunted in the WNBA, and this game against the Connecticut Sun was the clearest proof yet. But you know the saying, he who laughs last, laughs the longest.
During the game.
All right. Here it's Clark, splashing home a 3 from way downtown. Some words with the Connecticut bench.
And right from the jump, Connecticut's number 4 made her mission clear. Stick to Caitlin like glue, no matter where she moved.
Tempo, and that's not just the 94 feet, that's their cadence in the quarter court as well.
Here is Clark from...
But with that came a lot of unnecessary contact and no whistles from the refs early on, setting the tone for a long, physical night.
Different team with 22 on the floor that time.
In the 7th minute, the refs finally gave her a break.
Cutting Caitlin Clark defensively.
Clark runs into traffic and gets the foul call.
And not long after, Caitlin shook off JC Sheldon and made them pay.
Clark launches and hits.
I wonder if J.C. Sheldon in her 4 years at Ohio State has nightmares when she's thinking about going against Clark.
Those nightmares came alive again tonight, and we're still haunted by our own.
Matched up plenty in the WNBA as well. Here's Clark rolling Boston.
At this point, someone needs to throw a missed layup counter on screen for her teammates, and maybe one for how many times J.C. Sheldon was up in her grill too.
J.C. Sheldon really trying to be disruptive and physical with Clark.
This led to an early breather for Caitlin to conserve some energy, and when she checked back in later that quarter, it showed.
Here. Rivers is an impressive-looking rookie out of NC State.
And when Boston converts, Caitlin can find her all night, but easier said than done. She had a lot of trouble converting those passes, the looks were there, but the Suns' defense made every finish a war in the paint.
Here is Clark, who sees the double team, feeds inside. Boston couldn't finish.
And the refs were letting everything slide, but Caitlin wasn't. She got into it with Sheldon a little, letting her know she wasn't backing down from the physical. But the real problem of the night were the refs. By swallowing their whistles, they turned the game into more of a brawl than basketball. However, it didn't take long for Caitlin to answer the chaos the only way she knows how.
Sophie Cunningham suffered her ankle injury in that game, but in addition to that, she actually had part of her front tooth knocked out. She made contact with J.C. Sheldon as Caitlin Clark knocks down the...
Pure basketball, and that bottled up frustration started turning into a mini run. You could just feel the shift. First, an instant inbound assist.
And keep in mind, the Fever had 17 as a team.
Then, one of those deep snipes we all know and love.
Perfecting her craft.
Retreating, firing and hitting.
So she can do that.
Already 3 for 3 from deep, but in transition, she wasn't selfish.
Oh, Clark just took it away. It's a 2-on-1. Clark, bounce pass, pretty fine, and Mitchell won't miss from there.
A 6-point lead, and the Sun were back to their usual tricks. But so was Caitlin. They were so scared of her passing, she faked them out and took the open lane herself.
Pass in, it's Clark right up the middle.
At one point, she even had Sheldon scrambling on the floor and nearly cashed in the coldest 3 of the night. Momentum was shifting, but with offensive calls piling up against the Fever, halftime came just in time to cool things down. Out of halftime, Caitlin wasted no time, crossed up Sheldon, and dropped a perfect dime like she never took a break.
Clark behind the back, feet inside. 2 more for Howard.
And I guess Sheldon's ankles were feeling that one, because right after, she started getting real handsy again.
Felt like she was fouled there by Sheldon.
But no whistle. Meanwhile, on the other end, the Sun were handed one on a silver platter.
Strong offensive rebound, put back won't go. There's a...
There's no foul there.
But they gave it anyway, despite zero contact. The crowd saw it crystal clear in 4K, and they let the refs hear
Called
it.
for the foul, but she immediately is saying there's no foul there.
This probably made the Sun feel invincible, because on the very next play, they took the Caitlyn abuse to a whole new level.
There's
Hustling
a lot.
away.
I mean, is that displacement? I think it
That
is.
Oh, and Marina Mabry's going to get ejected. If the officials saw that, Marina Mabry is going to get ejected.
First, a deliberate poke in the eye, then a blatant shove in the back. It was disgraceful, but what the refs did after, even worse.
Clark has a technical, Mabry has a technical, Charles has a technical. Wow, is Mabry going to stay in this game? That's hard to believe.
Yes, you heard that right. Mabry got to stay in the game and somehow ended up with the same technical as Caitlyn. And of course, she was classlessly smiling and dancing like she'd just gotten away with robbery.
If sprinting over and knocking a player to the ground in a dead ball situation doesn't get you ejected, what does it take to get ejected?
As much as I love Marina Mabry as a player, I think that was a really poor decision by her. I do think that warrants ejection.
And the crowd agreed, and they let her hear it, raining down the booze. Caitlyn, luckily, bounced back fast from all that abuse, stepping to the line cool as ever.
So Clark is shooting.
She sat out the rest of the third, with the Fever holding their 12-point lead steady. But the moment she checked back in for the fourth, the physical play ramped right back up.
Weak hand, their left hand.
Rivers will be called for the foul on Clark.
In the fourth quarter, tied 76-76. Sabrina Ionescu leads all scorers with 31 points.
After weaving through all the body checks, she finally found her rhythm again.
Clark weaving through traffic and gets the roll.
And when Sheldon stepped back in on her, it gave her that extra motivation, and she let it out.
She never texts me during the game.
All right. Here is Clark splashing home a three from way downtown.
She was jawing at the Connecticut bench and giving the crowd exactly what they came for. If you want to be like these fans and witness greatness live, don't miss out. Grab your tickets to watch Caitlyn Clark in action on SeatGeek. Use code TheHooperShow for a nice little discount. Don't miss out. This would be Caitlyn's final action of the night, but make no mistake, the fire she sparked kept burning long after she checked out, in the form of her teammate Sophie Cunningham, who made it clear she had Caitlyn's back, going straight at Sheldon and matching their energy.
Sheldon going coast to coast. And here's we got another breakers here as JC Sheldon goes right after Sophie Cunningham.
A clear foul, but by then, the refs' questionable decisions were catching up with them. What should have been a clean game, clearly dominated by the Fever, was dragged down by missed calls and unchecked physicality. And when the officials finally decided to start tossing players, the damage had already been done. Luckily, Caitlyn walked away from this one without another injury, but the league has to do better. The constant hits, the no calls, the targeting, it's not just unfair. It's dangerous. Protecting stars like her isn't just about safety, it's about the future of the game. Let's hope the message gets through, and fast.